Hey guys, Twice here with our channel update and analysis for set 14. Now I know that I didn't do one of these for set 13, and that's frankly just because I forgot to do it. We did an unboxing video for that, we did a lot of deck profiles. I figured that the stuff that we put up kind of gave you an idea of what we were doing, but this time I figured that this set really is pivotal. It's kind of getting us prepared for the end of the season, which is going to be, set 15 that's coming out in September. So I figured that, doing a proper analysis of this one will show you what kind of decks we're building, what the focus of the set really is, and just what the meta will probably look like in the next few months. So I'm just going to go right down the list, trying to make this as short and simple as possible. I'm going to start off with Broken Heart, Jewel Knight, Ashley Reverse. In my opinion, as a Jewel Knights player, a really great boss card for this. As you guys know, I thought that Jewel Knights was kind of an unfinished archetype. No 10k vanilla, a 10k boss card, Vanguard, Salome, and then a disappointing break ride. So this one, I think, makes up for a lot of that. It's a solid card. Great limit break. It does what Jewel Knight's supposed to do. Superior call from cards from the deck to get more pressure and, add the occasional crit and, just kind of be more defensive when you have to be, but be more offensive when you can, which is what I like about Jewel Knights. They get a new set of triggers, which is great, as well as some particularly centered Ashley support, which is pretty good because that means that it gives more incentive to run the cross break ride. So yeah, just an overall really useful card for Jewel Knights. Next one is Liberator, Bonds, Lancelot, Zenith. Great cross break ride. Again, these are two of the four that came out in this set. His base form, I'll admit, is not the best. +5 to 3 rear guards, rather, is pretty good. But the thing I like about Lancelot Zenith is that he continuously, superior calls things from the deck, while also recycling cards like, for set 15's purpose, Blaster Blade Liberator back into the deck, while also giving you the opportunity to attack the Vanguard to at least force out another 5 or 10k shield. And does so for one special counterblast, which is pretty helpful. And on the turn that you cross break ride, you can actually hit some pretty nice numbers and, get off more attacks. So I do really like this card. I think he combos a lot with some other good Liberator support. So as a Liberator boss card, as the new pioneer of the Liberators, I think he will be a great card, or rather the new Vanguard of the Liberators. Next we have Salvation Lion, Grand Ezel, Scissors. A good alternative Gold Paladin. He's going to revitalize a lot of support from Season 2. Obviously, Ezel was a great deck while he was out. He was one of the 3 ultimate breaks that there were. But the fact is that Ezel could generate some really strong numbers while also doing what Gold Paladins do best. Superior calling things from the deck, getting power and getting abilities from doing so. And he could also combo really well with things like Pelennor, at least when Pelennor came out, and you could combo him with the Ezel deck. Today, Ezel Scissors is the first unlocking card that we have for English. His passive +5 is amazing, especially in draft, by the way. But that Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 2 to get the extra +10k +1 crit when you have a full field is just really amazing. Plus, he undoes half of his own cost at the end of the turn. So as you can see, this card will be a great alternative Gold Paladin deck and could be easily one of the most competitive decks in this set, at least. So definitely a really great card in Grand Ezel Scissors. Next we have Sunlight Goddess Yatagarasu, which frankly is just that triple rare that everyone looks at and is like, why is that even there? It's just the extra triple rare that they kind of threw in here. I like Yatagarasu's limit break, however I think that its cost is too high, which makes it not as competitive. It's Soul Blast 9 to draw 2 cards and then restand 2 of your rear guards, which would be good if it was something like Soul Blast 6, because restanding rear guards can always be helpful, and of course drawing 2 cards will, give you basically a double twin drive. But the thing is that because Yatagarasu is Soul Blast 9, you're going to be spending all of early and mid-game getting the soul ready to then use it all at once for one good turn. And while our secondary ability is good in allowing you to put one of your guardians into the soul each turn, you still have to make sure that you are adding to the soul every turn to really get to that number you want. And then after you Soul Blast, well, now you've got to build up 9 more cards again to just use it once more. So frankly, it decks out a little too fast, and it's just not as competitive because its cost is just too high. But her artwork is amazing, so I guess that kind of makes up for it. Then, of course, we have the card that unfortunately did kind of eclipse Yatagarasu, ironically enough, and that is Omniscience Regalia Minerva, the first boss card for the Regalias, who is amazing. The most valued card in this set at about $45. Minerva is a restanding Vanguard, whose limit break is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 3, and drop 3 Genesis from your hand. She, at the end of the battle that she attacks, stand her up with +5, which is great because on the turn that you cross break ride, yes, she's cross break ride of Angelica, not only are you going to be able to draw 2 cards with Angelica's Break Ride, but that also means that you're going to be able to swing for 23 with your Vanguard at first, and then 28 with just a Counterblast, a Soul Blast 3, and then dropping 3 cards from your hand, which is, again, assisted by the Break Ride skill. So a very good card, Restanding Vanguard. It gives Genesis the offensive power that it desperately needed while giving it an archetype at the same time. So Minerva, a great card, and will be easily one of the most competitive of this set. Next we have Dauntless Dominate Dragon Reverse. The cross break ride of Dauntless Drive Dragon Reverse, who is really good. His power is amazing. Very good at retiring the back row, which I saw Kagero was kind of falling off the end of. Like, they were more focusing on the front row, which seemed to be more of an Eradicator thing to do. But what Dauntless Dominate Dragon Reverse does is he brings back the idea of killing the opponent's key boosters to give them less offense, give them less resources, doing what Kagero was originally designed to do. Add pressure, decrease your opponent's resources for an overall win. And the fact that his Break Ride allows him to restand and then get extra power, because no matter what you drive check, he's going to get power and be able to retire something. That means that Dauntless Dominate Dragon Reverse, on the turn that you cross Break Ride him, is extremely threatening. So he is a very strong Vanguard, gets a little bit of specialized support and a 12k attacker and a K clone, so that's always good, and can go very well with some older Kagero support as well as some of the new stuff. So overall, really strong card, really great, especially on the turn when you cross Break Ride him. Then we have the Eradicator support, starting off with a new Break Ride, Ignition Dragon. It's a shame that English will not get Electric Shaper Dragon because he came out in the 2013 Fighters Collection, but the fact is that I figure that that Sweep Command Dragon is the only deck that can really make use of that card effectively. Ignition Dragon will actually be better, not for Tempest Bolt Dragon, the new Eradicator boss card that they got, but actually for Gauntlet Buster, because he'll be able to retire 2 units at once and get the instant +6/+2 crit, which is why Cross is now going to run Ignition Dragon instead of Vowing Sword in his Eradicator deck. Vowing Sword, of course, is only good now for his Cross Break Ride form, which is also still decently competitive. And although Ignition Dragon may let your opponent choose what 2 rearguards to retire, that doesn't take away from the fact that your opponent is losing 2 rearguards, and that Eradicators do get power from doing so. So on the turn that you Break Ride, he will be able to give a very good power addition to your field. Then we have Eradicator Tempest Bolt Dragon, who is obviously amazing. His lower break is a special Counterblast 3 Eradicators, retire all rearguards. He's the first unit to be able to do so. And then, for his passive ability is for each open rearguard circle, he gets +2k. It doesn't matter how many open rearguard circles there are on either your or your opponent's field, he's going to get +2 for each one of those. So it gives like this indirect pressure to your opponent to really put down a full field just to prevent your Vanguard from having more power, which is great because that means that he can make up for your own lack of rearguards by kind of giving himself that power that you might be lacking. Tempest Bolt Dragon on the turn that you Break Ride can be amazingly powerful. His cost, while heavy, is understandable, and Eradicators don't really have a problem with paying that because Eradicators never really run anything except for Eradicators in their decks. So overall, a really strong card, a unique card, which is a lot I like about him. And I think the passive skill is really his strongest aspect because it really can put a lot of good pressure on your opponent. And then we have the Double Rare Support, which was pretty good. This was for the 2 clans that were meant to really only get 1 set of support for this season, and those were Murakumo or Neo Nectar. So for Murakumo, we saw 2 good cards come out. First of all, their Break Ride, Covert Demonic Dragon Kagura Bloom. Let me actually go to his link right now. The thing about both these Break Rides is that they do cost a Counterblast, but I don't think that's really a problem because neither of the decks that they are meant to support are really Counterblast heavy. So Kagura Bloom's Break Ride ability is Counterblast 1, Vanguard gets +10k, and then you search your deck for 2 cards with the same name as your unit, as your Vanguard. You call into separate rearguard, shuffle your deck, and at the end of that turn, they go back to your hand. So this card is meant to combo with Hyaku Vogue Reverse. His limit break is you lock 2 of your Murakumo rearguards, and then all of your Hyaku Vogue in the front row get +10k. So on the turn that you Break Ride, not only do you get both of the ones that you're going to be using in the front row for 1 Counterblast, but it also means that you're going to be able to consistently, get a nice 21k front row for each of your rearguards, and on the turn that you Break Ride, a 31k on your Vanguard. So Kagura Bloom, great setup for the new boss card, Hyaku Vogue Reverse. What I like about Murakumo is that they're also getting cards that can now move to different rearguards and columns, and really do add to that whole Murakumo attack, go back to the deck, switch around, very tricky ninja-like tactic. So I think that Murakumo is getting so much more specialized support, so much more competitive support, and considering that this was one of the best decks when it came out in Japan, I think it will be very competitive here as well. And then Neo Nectar is also getting its own support. It gets its Break Ride, which is Lord of the Deep Forest Master Wisteria, who is, I would say, much more useful for non-Musketeer decks. Break Ride is Counterblast 1, Vanguard gets plus 10, then you choose 2 of your rear guards and you clone them. You add 2 of those cards from your deck to your field. You call them to the rear guard circle. And this is going to be particularly helpful for Arborous Dragon, because now Arborous Dragon is going to be able to get his Limit Break off easier because you're going to have more clones on the field to get the power from his Limit Break. And while it's not as useful for Musketeer decks necessarily, that doesn't mean that Musketeers necessarily got cheated. They did get a Perfect Guard, which is great because that means that you're able to throw it back into the deck with Cecilia's Limit Break a little bit easier, and it will be able to help out in Season 4 when they get their Legion as well. So I think that Musketeers got the support that they're going to need for the future in this set, but that Neo Nectar also got a great card in Maiden of Venus Trap Reverse, who's kind of like Lucia Reverse, does almost the exact same thing, but has a gold Paladin aspect in that she superior calls from the deck. And then that unit gets plus 5 at the cost of simply locking in Neo Nectar Rearguard. So, some pretty good support that came out for both Neo Nectar and Murakumo. I think Neo Nectar is getting the affection that it needed, considering that the last good support that it got was in Set 8, which was over a year ago, and that Murakumo is now getting some really strong cards because they also haven't gotten any support in Set 9, which was also over a year ago. So, some good cards coming out this set. Really looking forward to the kinds of decks that we're going to be seeing. Glad that Link Joker is not a focus of this new meta, or at least things like Chaos Breaker now have an answer to them, like Ezel Scissors. So hopefully things are going to be a little bit more balanced. As for channel updates, I don't really have anything major to announce. The fact is that our team is, progressing now, or I went to a sneak peek, obviously. Now that the World Cup is over, I know that Cross is going to be a little bit more dedicated to building the numerous decks that he has to build for this set. And Odd will hopefully be finishing his Revenger sometime soon. Was just waiting for a Raging Form Dragon to go down in price, because he was pretty expensive. And yeah, so a lot of things coming up in the future. Thank you all for your support for Team Zenith, I have to say that. Thank you especially to people from the various social sites that I have posted on. It's kind of hard to get, the channel started. I know that there's a lot of people that do this on YouTube, and I'm glad that there are, because it means the community is bigger and stronger and whatnot, and that's great. And I've never really been concerned about the numbers, but I'm glad to know that at least on places like the subreddit, I have to give a lot of credit to those people, because they have, whenever I posted on there, have given me a lot of support. So thank you again to those guys. Thank you to everyone who has supported Team Zenith. And remember to always have a great day and keep card fighting. Kind of messed that up there, but whatever. So we'll see you next time. Goodbye.